well, let's kick this off. I don't know what I need these for. These give you, I think, just all the crap, all the cards. So it turns out the big box set only has enough to hold 4 players anyway, so just in terms of for these, so those 8 things are not for that. There may be ways of adding more players. It would be pretty easy, but just you'd have to add more victory point cards, or else reduce the starting piles perhaps, or something like that. Anyway, so this is where we're sitting. I shuffled these guys up and we start dealing them out, and the first one that comes out does not have a treasure chest, and the card is an adventure. You reveal cards from your deck until you reveal 2 treasure cards. Those treasure cards go in your hand, and you discard all the other revealed cards. Discarding's fine, it's just going to cycle through the deck again. So what I'm going to be doing, first of all, that means we're not going to be pulling out the colony and the platinum, because the treasure chest did not show up here. And now we pull out the rest of the cards, and we'll kind of look at them, and then I'll dig them out of there as I need them. The Royal Seal. So this is a treasure card worth $2. It costs 5. That's not a good deal here, but it has a special ability. When this is in play, while this is in play, when you gain a card, you put the card on top of your deck. This is a big deal because often when you buy a card, you'd love to use it right away, but it just goes in your discard pile and you don't get to. This one I can just toss. We're not going to use that. And these are what would get eliminated from the game, and that would change the nature of the game a little bit in a kind of cool sort of way. Festival, I love this card. It costs 5, which is a high price, but it gives you 2 extra actions, which means you can draw more cards. It lets you buy an extra item, and it gives you $2 towards purchasing things. What you need with Festival, though, is something to generate more cards. So we'll see if there's something that'll do that comes out. The Forge, you can trash any number of cards from your hand, and you get a card that costs exactly equal to the total cost in coins of the trash cards. What's bad about this card is the exact issue. Quite often you have cards you want to trash and you can make a decent amount of points with it, but then you look and the exact cost of trashing those cards may be hard to meet, and then maybe you have to give up something you like. The Familiar. Okay, so this one is a little different. It's going to require 3 gold and a potion, so it's a good thing I got the potions out. Otherwise, if nothing came up, I would be able to get rid of it. This one gives you a card and an action, and each other player gets a curse whenever you play this. Curses are kind of nifty. Like I said, they're available in any game because they have a 0 cost, as do copper, which can be very important. But the copper, the 0 cost curses, probably you don't want them, but I've seen a couple of play examples where maybe play situations where maybe you might want a curse in your hand, but probably not, or in your deck. So this is kind of cool. It attacks people, and it also gives you some nice advantages. The problem is it has a cost of 3. Okay, that's pretty low, and a potion. And the problem with the potion is you got to get that into your deck. That has a cost of 4, so there's sort of a time delay into how quickly you can get this. Plus, you have to have the money, which generally comes, $3 you generally have with any hand, but you have to have that potion cycle through. And if there's only one thing that takes a potion to purchase, well, that potion becomes a useless card in your hand later. The Forge would help you get rid of it, though. The Council Room. You get 4 extra cards and a buy, and each other player, though, gets to draw a card when you do this. That's drawing a card that they'll be able to use in their next turn, so you're kind of paying a price for this. But this works really nicely with the Festival, which generates more actions, because you'll be able to pull more cards and be able to do more with them. The Library. Draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. You may set aside any action cards drawn this way as you draw them. Discard the set aside cards after you finish drawing. Okay. So normally your hand's going to start at 5 cards. But this would allow you to keep drawing, either to get actions. You can take them or choose, hey, I don't want that action, I'll keep drawing. But otherwise, you'll be getting gold or treasure and crap that you don't really want. It's an interesting card, though. It allows you to fill your hand out a little bit more. But like this one, it's kind of expensive. In fact, everything's kind of expensive so far. Bureaucrat, gain a silver card. Put it on top of your deck. Each other player reveals a victory card from his hand and puts it on his deck. Or reveals a hand with no victory cards. This is a nice attack. So, first of all, I get a silver, which goes on the top of my deck. That'll upgrade my purchasing capabilities. And I'm able to buy this for 4, which, is about the cost of a silver card anyway. So this looks like a good early play card. And then also, if people have victory point cards in their hand, it comes out of their hand and goes to the top of their deck. And it's going to spoil their next turn. And now this turn, they're a card short. That victory point card is pretty much useless in your hand each time it comes up. The Quarry. Again, a fair price, mediocre price. The 2s and 3s are the cheap stuff. 4 or maybe 5 is kind of medium price. Anything above 5 is getting pretty expensive. So this produces a gold. It's a treasure card. It's just like these, except it's a kingdom card as well. While this card is in play, action cards cost 2 less, but not less than 0. Very, very nice if you want to buy up to one of these more expensive action cards. You can't use it to buy a treasure card, even if it was a kingdom card, though. And our final one is a stash. This costs 2, or is worth 2, costs 5. And when you shuffle, you can put this card anywhere in your deck. So that's kind of interesting. This is an ability that's not a play ability. This is something that I think kind of affects your discard ability, right? I mean, it just takes effect when it's in your discards. So you can stack this in your deck, and you can say, well, I could really use 2 extra gold, or I don't really need money right now. I'll put this on the bottom of my deck. It'll still come around, but who cares? So that's our starting set. We've only got 1 card from the Alchemy expansion that uses potions in play. Only 1 card from Alchemy at all. This is some kind of weird promo thing that was included. I don't know if it's part of the big box or if it was just a promo that somebody had. Anyway, quite a few treasures. That's going to be kind of interesting. Not much cheap stuff at all. Looks like 4s are our cheapest things. And I'll dig out the decks, 10 cards each of these, set them up here, and then we'll start playing. Each person will shuffle their deck and then deal themselves out 5 cards. What about this for solo play? There's a few cards out there like the Watchtower and a couple others that kind of cancel out some of the attack cards. None of them seem to be here. I don't think there's much of anything in the kingdom. There's nothing in the kingdom here that requires much watching, except maybe the stash. That's going to be hard for me to remember, but that would be hard for me to remember in a post game. Let's look at the first player. Now, you divide your deck in half at the beginning. You've got half your cards. And the big thing here is, first of all, I have no actions, and you never will at the beginning of the game. But I have 4 copper, which I can play. Now, there's a lot of things I could do here. Well, maybe not too many. I could buy myself a silver. I could buy myself a potion. There's a chance of getting the familiar fairly early on, which looks kind of potent. I could buy the bureaucrat, who gets silver. This is nice, but it doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of purchasing power. It's got 1 plus sort of 2 for actions, but also interesting at the 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of randomize my strategies here and then build off them as I go. So in this one, I would rather not waste money, so I'm not going to buy the silver, which costs 3. But I'm going to go potion. I'm going to go with the 3 things that cost 4. I think they're all good choices. And I end up buying the quarry, which is probably the weakest of the bunch. Then I have to... These cards are in play. By the rules, what I do is I discard this card up here. And then I take the rest of my deck and discard it along with the cards in play. And now I draw a new 5-card hand, which I'm going to indicate by spreading the cards out. This isn't reshuffled yet until it's needed. Let's go to the next player and see what he draws. And to some extent, what you get in the first turn determines a lot about your play of the game. It kind of directs your, because you've already got something. So you start playing towards that which you've already purchased. And it's going to be hard for me to remember that here. But here, this guy has $5 to begin with. Now, $5 is nice. I can get a bunch more cards, which gives me the ability to buy more things, but it helps other people. I could get this, which I think by far is the best of the starting $5 cards. There's no money for $5. I could get victory points, but that's just going to hurt me. So I'm going to buy the Festival to begin with. Put that over here. And I draw a new hand. Now, here's the problem. There were only $7 in my hand. That means I only have a $2 card here. That's going to be problematic because all my estates are in this next hand. And I just know that. And it sucks, but what can I do? This guy also got the $5 hand. Alright. Well, with this guy buying Festival, are we so sure we want it? This doesn't look terribly useful to begin with. Wow, there are others here. Stash is interesting. Given that one guy took Festival, I want to make sure I have Festivals as well. Remember, there's 2 ways this game can end. One is if 3 of these decks are wiped out. And if some of these piles are really, really valuable, like Festival, that can happen pretty quickly. And you got to keep an eye on how those are beginning to diminish and think, well, is it time to switch to victory points now? Okay, this guy's only got $3. $3 is not a great amount. I can't buy this because I need a potion for it. The best thing I think I can do is buy myself a silver. Now that means I got $4 in my next hand. But that should be the case over here. This guy should have $3. Yep. And again, I just want to buy a silver. I got nothing else I can do of any value. Now, the problem here is I'm going to have to reshuffle. And I actually may have to do that because some of the attack cards affect other people. I'm going to hold off on this first round and just play my way around and realize that these guys are reshuffling right now and drawing their 5-card hand. But let's just get this first pile out. He's only got $2. This puts him in a really ugly position. You don't want to add this crap to your deck right away. He's got nothing worth anything. I always think it's a good idea to grab a little extra coinage early in the game when you're in this position. Some other times you might not be willing to add copper to your hand. But right now, I think it's good, especially since he has a Festival in his hand. He's probably going to be going for something that draws more cards. So that might be nice. Right now, the Festival's not very powerful because it doesn't add actions. But it does add 2 money, which is what a silver adds. And eventually, it's going to be a very important card. This guy also has crap for money, and he's going to throw a copper in. Does he need to? You know, some people don't want to dilute their hand with copper. I'll tell you what. Since the other guy did it, he's not going to do it. He's just going to pass and not spend his points. And this guy's got a pile $4. He's bought a silver. And for his $4 action, There's 2 interesting things, 3 interesting things. Let's roll the die. He's going to go for the quarry as well. I consider this so iffy. Okay. You know what? Since one person went for the quarry, let's go for something else. Let's make sure we go for a different one. Let's get the bureaucrat. I actually kind of want the potion, but that's okay. Well, now I'm at a point where everybody's shuffled and they've dealt out their hands, but I'm behind the 8 ball because I haven't, been paying attention and stopping the camera. So I'm going to have to do it now. Okay, so things don't change too much as you go, except I don't really remember what I have. But I got a lot of money here. I got $6 instead of 5 now, or 4. I don't have any actions or anything, so I can only buy one thing. $6 gets me to this. Reveal cards until you get 2 treasures. Put those in your hand and discard other revealed cards. That could be interesting. Alternatively, I could just throw some big money in to play. I think big money is better at this point. It's more sturdy, perhaps, but here's the thing. I'm not gaining action abilities. I could have gone for a 5-point action, but I feel like my advantage is to put that 6 in there and get that into play. With that gold in there, this becomes more valuable, but before I have that, it's not as good. Okay, this guy has a pile of cards. What he's going to do is he's going to play Festival, and that gives him 2 actions, an extra buy, and 2 extra bucks. Now he has $6. The 2 from here and the 4 that he can play out. What does he want to do with that? Well, he doesn't want to be drawing through for this. So again, gold is of interest. Alternatively, he could use that extra buy and buy himself, I don't know, say the Royal Seal that lets him buy cards and use them immediately. This, which may allow him to get an extra card. But again, I hate not using my full cash. So with $6, I too will buy a gold. I know it seems like I'm doing the same things, but I'm really not. And these guys have a hand. This is important because there are some cards that affect the deck that the hand of cards that you have, or the deck that you have. For example, we have the bureaucrat, which allows people to draw an extra card at that moment. So you kind of have to not be cheesy like I'm being with these. Okay. He has $5. I don't remember what his purchase was last time. Let me peek through his deck. I know this is cheating. So he has a Festival. What I think he'd like to do with his $5 is buy himself a council room. That goes in his discard pile right away. Doesn't make too much difference because this money just drops here. But the reason for that is the council room and the Festival go well together. Now, it's kind of hard playing solo to remember what everybody's deck is and what they've built up. And that's I don't know how much value this is because of that. So here's my hand, but I have this bureaucrat. I gain a silver card, I put it on top of the deck, and everybody else can reveal a victory card, well, must reveal a victory card, and put it on top of their deck. Okay. So that's a strong card. I get this extra silver that'll be available next time. And now everybody has to look and get screwed. So he has a victory card he has to put on top of his deck. He probably does too. And these are just bone cards that are reducing his next hand by 1. You know, the hand he's going to play with next by 1. And then he's got that stupid card in his next hand after that. So that's kind of a potent play. And now here I only have $3. $3 isn't terribly good. I kind of hate the idea of just piling up the silver, but I can't think of anything else to do. So I'm going to buy that. That goes in my discard along with the rest of my hand here. I don't know what to do except just play the game. There's no narrative in a game like this for me. It's just a matter of, oh hey, here I'm taking these actions, I'm trying to optimize my deck. And that's fun, you know, don't get me wrong. In fact, even Magic kind of has that feeling, not in the building of the deck, but in terms of the play of the deck. I know what I've got and I'm trying to optimize it. I'm really not worried about the story of what's going on at all. I'm going to need to close this door, it's distracting me. I know I don't actually have you guys viewing it. Okay, so let's come back here, see what we do. We have almost nothing. We have a Quarry, which adds 1 and makes action cards cheaper, and we have a Copper, and these are still in my hand. So I've got basically $4 to buy an action card. I couldn't use it for the potion, that's a treasure. Couldn't use it for this for the same reason. So I am going to buy the only thing I really can for that money, which is the Bureaucrat. Put the hand aside, and now I've only got 3 cards I'm drawing, so I've got to go to a reshuffle. I'm going to have to bail and come back. We're going to have a lot of that happening in the game. A lot of this game is, you know, you run out of deck and you start shuffling. And that's fine if you, even, you know, if you're playing with 4 players, that's pretty good. In 2 players, though, what I notice is somebody's always holding up the game shuffling. You know, one of the 2 players, it's just, I'd say about a third of the game is eaten up by delays in shuffling if people are playing kind of quickly. If they're taking a lot of time, spending time thinking, well, the person who's thinking a lot is going to be the guy who's taking the time shuffling, or girl in the case in the case of my life. But coming over this guy again, only 4 cards and only $3 to buy. $3 doesn't give a lot. I like to get something. Sometimes my wife bails with $3, but I almost always will buy a silver. I just think it's a good idea to get something rather than that. And here we get another reshuffle. And yeah, and over here, only $2. Well, $2 is really crappy. Not always. Sometimes there's a $2 card out there, but there is nothing here I can get for 2. I can get the Estate. I hate those. I think they're really valueless unless you're in a situation where you want to pick up, you know, a few victory points and you know you're not going to run through your deck again. I could take a Copper. I don't know which way to go on this. I'm going to pass. I just don't think it's worthwhile. And that's again 2 cards. I'm going to play this last one. Hopefully I won't need to deal with this, but I have to remind myself that there's a reshuffle here. Okay, lots of cash. $6 in cash. And I can only buy one thing. Well, there's 2 $6 things. The gold and the adventure. Did I have a gold? Now you can't really look through these usually. I don't think I had a gold, so I'm going to buy one because I don't think the adventure is very interesting unless you can have a gold. Unless you have, you know, some good value coinage in your hand to draw for. And now I've got to shuffle both those decks and I fill out the hands. As decks get bigger, the reshuffle events happen less and less frequently. So what do we got here? We got $4. I don't remember what his deck is like, though. That's the problem. But $4 doesn't do me a lot. $4 is either a potion, a Bureaucrat, or a Quarry. I'm going to go for the potion at this point. Try to aim for picking up the familiar. I don't like having more than like 1 potion in my deck at this point in the game. And especially where something's that cheap. So I'm going to have to try to remember, you know, that there as well, what somebody has in their deck. And when you're playing it, you know, as a single player in a multiplayer game, you can usually remember what your deck's designed for. But when you're playing it like this, it's really tough to do. And here we have almost no money. Remember, people were putting estates on top of their deck. $2. Do I want a Copper or no? Yeah, I'll take an extra Copper. I can always use the Forge at some point to trash those from my deck, right? You know, you think that, but quite often what happens is you start to have a lot of actions in your hand, and you don't particularly want to use this just to trash cards. You've got better things to do with your life. Okay, well, we definitely want to play a festival. And that gets us $5 with a buy. I can't take another action. I don't have the cards for it. $5 with a buy. I need a council room if I don't have one. Or do I need a festival? Well, I'm more likely to draw. I think he's got one of each, but I'm more likely to draw another festival with the council room, and then be able to push further, I guess. It's always getting the balance on those things is always rough. This guy's cash holdings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to, again, I'm going to cheat. You can't do this during play, but I want to peek at his deck, see what he's got. He's just got gold. Okay. So we're looking at $5. All I have is gold right now. Now I could follow what these other guys are doing and grab the festival. What about some of these? Setting aside action cards. Not terribly useful, but with all the money I have, that might be helpful. This would get me a quicker start if I fire it off. I think I'm going to buy the Royal Seal, because that allows me to put my next card on top of my deck. Just kind of knowing what his deck has, that it doesn't have any actions in it yet, makes it seem kind of appealing to me in some twisted sort of way. Here, $3 and nothing. I think a silver is always worth buying, early in the game at least. That gets me 4, and I'm going to reshuffle, and we're going to have reshuffles going all around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to report on what was bought. So this guy has $7 and an extra buy. I've got the $4 action on the Bureaucrat, which kind of works nicely with this. I'd love to get the council room, but I don't want to waste money particularly, and I feel like I'd be wasting some with that. If I buy the Bureaucrat, I can buy a silver with it. If I buy the Quarry, I can buy a silver with it. And that's what we'll go with here. And he almost makes. Okay, so the problem with trying to show just what I bought is it doesn't show up. It's been reshuffled back in. So this guy's card, he's going to play the council room, and this is to show you what kind of happens. He gets 4 additional cards immediately, these 2, and now he's got to reshuffle and get some more. Some more is 2 more. Gets another copper, which is good, and now he gets a festival, and this is useless. He can't play it because he played his 1 action for the turn. He has $5 though, and I think he wants to kick another festival in. I don't know what his balance is right now, but kind of got that action going there, and he's got what, 4 cards. I'm going to mark that he gets 1 more, and we'll go with this guy. This is just so that I can avoid a reshuffle for 1 player at least. 3, 4, 5, and a Bureaucrat. Okay, Bureaucrat's a cool card. It's an attack card, and it gives you something. The only problem is it's cluttering my deck with money, but money's good, you know? So I do that. Everybody looks through. He has to show his hand, what he's got available, and that he does not have a victory card in his deck, in his hand. Same with him. He has to do the same. Unfortunately, I have to do a reshuffle. So I'm going to try to remember the Bureaucrat as well before I do that. But with $5, I've got some interesting opportunities here. Is it more impressive to me to pile up money at this point? Or to grab a festival that gets me more actions? I don't really have a lot of actions right now. This allows me to ignore actions. I'm going to buy the library. And then reshuffle. Well, I think he gets this. Yeah, he's still okay. Reshuffle this guy and check him to see if he has to put his estate on top of his deck. And indeed he did. And we're over here now. Let's put this somewhere. Okay. So I have one action. This is not an action, it's a treasure card. I get to put another silver on top of the deck, and everybody's got to check for an estate. He still shows, hey, I haven't done anything, man. This guy doesn't have an extra one, but he does show his hand. This guy does. So he's hit with that double whammy. I mean, it's not really, it doesn't really hurt the current hand, it just hurts the next hand. Now the money, bonus on action cards, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bucks. And all his action cards are 2 less. So if he could buy 2 action cards, that would be great. But he doesn't have that kind of money. What I was talking about is, hey, I want to buy the Forge, right? Because the Forge gets me, you know, it's the most expensive thing. Obviously, I don't want to waste money. Yeah. The problem, though, is I don't know what it helps me with. The only cards I really want to trash at this point are copper. Now, I might want to convert, you know, 2 silver into a gold or something along that line. So there might be some value to trying to buy that, but I can only buy one thing. I'd rather buy something that's going to help me. I feel like I have a lot of money showing up right now, but I may need more. I too am going to buy an adventure. You can see the hands are getting, or the decks are getting big enough. I don't have to reshuffle quite as much. Okay, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can buy what I like. What do I like? Again, I don't know about this Forge. I only get to buy one thing. That's the problem. This looks like kind of a bum deal with the amount of money that people are producing in their hand. So, which of these is better? Just drawing 2 treasures, or being able to cycle through? I don't know. This one's more expensive, but this one's kind of neat. If I can combine these for 9, yeah, that doesn't really help me. I'm going to use the adventure for that grab treasures. It's a more expensive card. You got to assume it's worth more, although I don't know that it really is. Because this, even if I've got a smaller hand, grows my hand. But the problem is this grows victory point cards in here. This is kind of nice. I can start buying victory point cards with the adventure and at least skip over them sometimes. With this only grabs treasure, but it doesn't get me action cards, and that's kind of problematic. Of course, it's an action on its own, so unless I have festivals. Okay, well, I got the big one here. 4 extra cards. That is so huge. This was on top. Lots of money. 3, 6 bucks. What do I do with 6 bucks? Again, do I want the adventure? Or do I want to work with these council rooms and festivals? I kind of like these so much. I get an extra buy. Ooh. Maybe I want to go with a 4-3 deal. I'm kind of impressed with what the bureaucrat's doing, and I'll buy myself a silver as well. Now, the problem with these is the money is kind of watering down what I was doing with my deck. I kind of would have liked to have bought a festival or council room and continued the policy that I was, following. But I have a hard time sticking to the concept of a deck when, hey, I can get things that are clearly better right now. This guy does not have all his, he's not playing with a full deck here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. $7. What do I buy for 7? I buy the adventure to cycle through my money quicker. And it looks like we have a reshuffle coming up and probably a bit of a pause for me. We're running into kind of the problem of too rich in terms of money production. I think I'm going to take a switch and only spend 5. I've got 6 and I could upgrade it with gold, but grab a console room, which I've been forgetting the effect of these. I see these in bold and then I don't see this in its tiny lettering. Other players have to discard when you play this, so this is kind of an attack as well, although it doesn't claim to be one. But this will give me a pile of cards with my wealth. That should allow me to buy more things, and it gives me an extra buy, which is kind of important. Because the problem with this time was, well, I could only buy one thing. What about this guy? So here I've got just one action card to play. 2 actions, an extra buy, and $2. This is gonna make it 3, but I can buy actions cheaper. 4, 5, so I could buy up to a 7. I too have the adventure. If I'm seeing these beginning to get eaten up, I want to make sure I have one. It's one of the problems in the game is you don't want to get left behind if there is a good combo out there and not get a piece of the action. And of course that means these decks start getting small where there is a good combo available. Alright, so this is really cool because I start out with my festivals, and this is what you want to do. So I have 2 extra actions. Well, there's one of them, but now I have a total of 3 extra actions. Now I get 4 extra cards, and we get a reshuffle. I'm going to get 3 more cards, and maybe I'll get some more actions in there. I got the possibility of more cards coming, for example, too. Okay, so 3 more cards, just some money mainly, and no more actions. Pity. Okay, now money-wise, I have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which means I can buy pretty much anything I want except for even a province. So I can start cranking for victory points. The problem is, this is an unlikely hand for me to get. So maybe I can do better than that, and this is probably where I get in danger. I also have a total of 4 buys, but at $8, there aren't a lot of things I really, really want to buy. And there's kind of the, hey, let's not waste money. Well, let's also think about the 5 and the 3. Get more festival growth and more card, well, we can't get more card production, but some more cash in our deck. This might have been the time to start buying victory points. Probably it's when my wife would do so, but I won't, because I'm always wanting to improve my hand too quick, or my deck too quickly, for too long. 5, 6, 7 here. Now, is the Forge terribly helpful to me? I'm pretty sure I have adventures. And this is just where it kind of starts getting problematic. But I'll buy in. See, I can't think of any cards I really want to trash at this point. So I'll buy an adventure. Again, trying to be greedy and buying the most that I can buy rather than maybe trying to go for that big combination. But if I go for that big combination, I'm pushing the game towards the end, right? I don't know which way to look at it. Okay, $3 and a potion. Perfect. I get to buy a familiar, And you can see these have their advantages. They may not be as good as some of the other cards, but it lets me follow a different path. And to some extent, there's advantages to that in that I'm not draining the paths that other people are. We got some reshuffling to do here. I'm going to put 3 here, go to the next player, because he too is going to have to reshuffle. Whole pile of money. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, you can't look like I'm doing. I have an adventure in there, probably not another one here. I'm gonna take that big expense, or do I want to take the gold? I think the adventure is cooler than the gold. And you see, I'm kind of avoiding the library. It's got its advantages and its disadvantages. And with 3 extra cards here, we'll come back with a reshuffle. Alright, now we come to, this is where things start getting difficult, because I've got to choose between one of my 2 actions. I didn't get a festival, so I don't get bonus actions coming out of this. One that gets me a horde of extra cards and a buy, and one that produces this attack on other people and gets me a silver card. Well, I'm going to play this for horde of cards. That means, even though I don't have a lot of money, that means I'm going to get, and you could see these would work really nicely together. If I could play the bureaucrat before I play the council room, I could get an extra silver on my deck or whatever. I'm going to have to draw 2 more, so we'll be pulling away for another shuffle. I remembered to read the card now that I'm aware of it, and everybody actually had an estate that they could get rid of on top of their deck. Let's see what the rest of my cards are. A bunch of money. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, $8 with an extra buy. That means I could buy 2 4s or a 5 and a 3. The 2 4s doesn't seem as valuable as the 5 and the 3 combination. What does the library do for me? I draw 7 cards. I can set aside actions as I wish and draw them, discarding. What about some of these? This is a nice card, but it's hard for me to choose that over, say, another festival and a silver. Remember, I've got an extra buy. I am getting piles of money, and piles of money can be cool, but I don't know. 8 could have gotten me to the province again, and I've done that twice now. I better start thinking about it pretty soon. Okay, here's our action, the library. Draw until you have 7 cards in hand, and set aside action cards if I wish, which I do wish, because this is my only action for the turn. So I get 4 new cards. 1, 2, let's set this aside. And it's actually not in my discard pile yet. Set aside. That's at 5, 6, 7. Unfortunately, I don't have any new purchases here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9's a lot. I can only buy one thing. Basically, my view here is I'm either buying the province at 8 or I'm buying the forge at 7. What would the forge let me destroy? If I have extra actions in my hand, and then I could convert them, and the goal of this is to convert them into big things like provinces, to turn your cards into something that helps you win the game. So I think we're going to go for this. It's a hard judgment either way. And then we need to reshuffle, because we went through most of our deck with the library. Weird comparing some of the cards. The one made everyone discard an estate because they had an estate. But if they didn't have a victory point card, they would have had to just discard something, maybe something useful. On the other hand, the other card does a little worse when it forces you to discard, because you're actually putting it on top of here, so it's boning your next play. Whereas that discard had little effect. So I have a council room, and I'm making everybody discard. Now my bureaucrat's a bad draw. It doesn't help me any more than this does. But I gotta run through everybody's hand and see what they're gonna discard. Most of the players had an estate kicking around, although this guy had to throw a copper, which hurts but not much. Okay, so these are useless. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bucks, and I could buy up to 2 cards with that. Well, 2 cards doesn't sound very useful. There isn't anything that's worth 3 or less. That's, you know, I could buy 2 silver. So I'm kind of looking at 1 card. The adventure to draw money. You know, I think I need another festival, because I'm already drawing multiple actions. Now, one way to get rid of those actions, if you start getting too many, is something like the Forge. But I find it hard to play, I'm telling you. Okay. Now I've got a very small hand. I usually don't get below 3, at least in 2-player games. Reveal cards from your deck until you reveal 2 treasure cards. Put those into your hand and discard the other revealed cards. There's 1 treasure card, there's 2. So now I have 6 bucks. And I couldn't stop partway through or anything if I wanted to do more. Well, I don't really think I want this. I think I'll buy a gold. Not sure why. You know, again, I kind of lose touch with what my deck is. This guy had an impressive hand here. Festival, council room. There's just 4 cards. Everybody's going to have to throw a discard. Oh, festival. Now, there's no reason to hold actions if they're going to help you, because they just get discarded at the end of your turn. So it's a little different from Magic, where or some other games where you're holding, you know, cards, and you can say, well, this could be useful next turn or whatever. Yeah, you just get a handful, and you got to figure out what to do with it. Let me do the discards, and I'll come back to what this guy can buy. He's got 2, 4, 6, 9 bucks. That's a lot of money. We've seen one person already pull one of these. I think I'm buying one. I've got a full reshuffle to do here. I'm going to play through this guy if I can get through him before getting to that. And he's got money. He's got 3, 4, 5, 6. And if he buys something, he may put it on top of his deck. Well, what would be good to go again with? Festival is the coolest thing to start with. Yes, I'm throwing away a buck here, but these things, I don't really like to start with them. So that's what I'm putting here. And we'll reshuffle these guys. I'm going to nap. I'm going to probably catch my sleep for the night. Okay, well, it's a morning now and bright and hot. Of course, I have less idea of the cards than I did before, but let's get started and see what we have. 1 card in Adventure reveals 2 cards. Now, here's where, if you're having your hand depleted, here's where the library is more powerful. But playing the library as your first card is kind of weak, and unless you have festivals or something to improve on it, or just a ton of gold, maybe it's not the best choice. So here we get a treasure card and another treasure card. So we got all in for that. Now we only have 1 action. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have $7. Not enough to jump for the victory. I have the potion, so this would be the time maybe to take a familiar if I was going to take a familiar, but, you know, honestly, a card and an action, it's a nice combination, but maybe one of these at 5 is worth as much. And then there's, of course, the 7-point action or the gold card, all of which are of interest. So what do we have? 5, 6, 7. Yeah. It's really hard to go to this, but here's the thing. This game, this particular deck, and the way the players have reacted, has overloaded so many of them with gold that it's hard to buy a low-end item like this, and I only get one shot with that. I'm going to go with the familiar. I think it's the one thing that I have on this player that no one else has, and that could actually do me some good. And then we've got a reshuffle coming, but I want to skip that and go to the next player because we had no active effects here. Here it's only $4. We're going to buy into the potion deal too. We've gotten some of those actions. We'll see, maybe we can avoid. Yeah, we'll pause. We'll get the reshuffle and get that extra. This guy has such good card generating hand. He'll open up with a festival, 2 actions, a buy, and this. One of the extra actions is used here. Grab him another quick 4 cards, but now he just has tons of money. Luckily, though, he has extra buys, so a lot of money isn't really necessarily a bad thing. Something, you know, you saw this guy wasting a lot of money buying the familiar. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, $11 with up to 3 buys. And you can use those extra buys to buy things that don't cost anything, which is always kind of cool. Okay. 11 with 3 buys. What do I want with 11? Well, I really like this combination. Although it wastes me some points. 11 also gets me the victory point level, and I could throw a silver in instead. Yeah, let's do that. We're trying to end this. I wouldn't be doing this. This is ahead of my desire to play for victory points, but I want to try to speed the game up a little bit. Oh, everybody's got to draw a card. That's the bonus of the council room. You know, I think I saw that as discard a card last night. Jesus. Okay, well, you're not seeing, you know, the proper value of the cards, but my vision is kind of iffy, and I'm really bad at reading things, and I think I read that as discard last night all throughout. Oh, well. Well, I definitely want to start off with the festival because it has the 2 extra actions. Now, I have these 2 extra actions here. I want the library first to draw myself up to 7 cards. I can't play this first because this will give me extra cards. So now I have these. That means I get 3 cards and I can set aside actions. 1, 2. All right, do I want the forge? That's a good question. If I take the forge, I can start pumping points in with this. So I could, for example, spend 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's nothing that I can buy. This is the problem I was talking about. So I could use the forge to turn the adventure in for 6. And then I have to find something that's exactly 6. Well, that would be a gold. Great. But I don't want to do that. I could turn these 2 in for 6 and get an adventure or some such, but that doesn't do me any good. And this is the problem. I can't play with these cards. They're not in my hand. So this becomes almost a useless card, and that's the problem. I've found it's very difficult to work out the set you want. And in particular, if a special case, if I trash the familiar, I can only buy things that have a potion on them because I need to get the exact cost. So instead I'm going to play the adventure, which gets me 2 treasure cards. I have an extra buy. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. With an extra buy, I think we're in the race for victory here, so we're just going to buy the province. Now, each one of these purchases slows down the deck. And again, you know, don't worry too much about the mistakes that I make in this with the specific cards. I'm no master of the game, obviously. I'm just trying to give people kind of a view of what the play is like. And most people have played this. For me, it's probably a newer game than for most Euro gamers. But it does give you kind of an idea of the deck building if you're not familiar with it. If you're coming from outside the, you know, sort of, hey, I play the popular games view. So that can be useful, I suppose. Okay, and I have too many cards because I had the extra. So now, I'm going to play the familiar. That gives me an extra card. I can't use my extra action. Everybody gets a curse. Everybody must get cursed. And that's -1 victory point in their deck. The goal is to collect victory points, and you'll be collecting these. There are some cards in the game that give you these victory points by taking actions, and you just kind of collect them up as money almost. You can't spend them for anything, but they count at the end of the game, and they're kind of cool because they don't pollute your deck. We don't have anything like that out here, though. 3, 5... I've got $6, and I can only buy one thing. Oh. Duchies are kind of an interesting choice, but I don't feel like I'm in the running against these guys who are trying to buy provinces. So polluting my deck with the duchies doesn't seem like a good move. I'm going to spend the 6 and put another riches, some more money in my deck. But one of the things that happens is that some decks do just fall behind. They aren't going to do terribly in terms of the overall score at the end of the game, but they are going to have trouble. You know, it's going to be clear that they're producing less and maybe start a little later on the production when they get around to it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was using this with the discard. So now I have 2 choices here. I have either draw 2 treasure cards or draw 4 cards in total and get an extra buy. Everybody else gets to draw a card, though. I'm going to put the die over here to remind me that this guy gets a draw. And I get 4. Well, we've got some reshuffling to do because this is 2. This festival isn't going to help me because I don't have extra. So, this is the hand I have here. These are not going to be in play. They're just sitting in my hand. If I had the forge, I could do something with them maybe. The quarry is important. I've got a total of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bucks. 2 buys, and I can reduce the price of things. Well, 12 bucks with 2 buys. I could buy a couple of forges, but again, I found those really hard to discern, to find value with. 12 bucks with 2 buys. This cost me 3 of that 12 because I've got the +2 here. And then I'll buy myself a province. I'm not thrilled with buying the province, but hey, if other people are doing it, I kind of have to stay in the game. I'm already behind, but maybe a turn that I took production cards when these guys didn't is going to give me the edge overall, and I'll produce a little extra. Highly unlikely. Usually, you know, whoever makes the decision to move first, if they're in a reasonable place, I think comes out ahead from making that decision. Okay, but we start seeing the pain of it. So all I have is a silver card on top of my deck. Everybody else has to reveal a victory card. and put it on top of their deck. So, you know, might as well. I have almost no money. I only have $3. Do I want to throw another money card into the deck? Or have we started the victory race and I just want to buy an estate? Horrible cards, but I think that's what I want to do. Now let's look at everyone else for the second effect of that. He has a victory card. He can put that on top of his deck. Multiple effects to that. He does not and has to show his hand to show that he doesn't. And by showing his hand, it means everybody can kind of examine what he has. He has enough money to buy himself a familiar. Nobody knows that, though, because he had to play the thing. Okay. Now, and this will be the final one for this round. Okay. Bureaucrat's the only action I have, so I will play it just because the gain seems worth it. Everybody has to do their discard. I should do it in order. We already know he doesn't have one. He doesn't have one this time, and he does have to show that he has a familiar. Oh, that's not his hand. Let's see if this guy has any. Yeah, he gets screwed into it. Okay. The Royal Seal. When this is in play and you gain a card, you get to put it on top of your deck. Sweet. Unfortunately, I only have $4. Is there something I'd want to churn and put in place? This has a $3 purchase value. I know I've got a silver coming up. I think this is a good card for me to grab. Alternatively, there really aren't a lot of good options for me. So I'm going to put this up there. I certainly don't want another bureaucrat on top of my deck. And now look, I get the 2 cards that I just grabbed, that I just put on top of my deck. And I'm not going to worry too much about the others. All right, this video has gotten long enough by far. Unfortunately, the next one's probably going to be much, much shorter. But, well, mistakes and all, this gives you some idea of kind of the general play. And we'll get more going up there.